Welcome into NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey. Today we're taking a look at some possible destinations for Dak Prescott because some Cowboys fans might not want to admit it, but there is a very real chance that Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys are heading towards a divorce. They failed to get a deal done in 2019, and they failed to get it done before the franchise tag extension deadline, meaning Dak's going to play on the tag, $31.4 million. And the Cowboys are trending towards letting Dak hit the open market because it's going to get expensive for the Cowboys and for Dak tag this year. It's set $31.4 million. Next year, $37.7. That's a pretty darn good average if you're Dak Prescott. 2022, it balloons to a ridiculous $54.3 million. Probably not going to tag him at that point. And if you're Dak, why would you sign an extension? But after this year, you can just get the big-time tag, or maybe you hit free agency. So there's a very real chance, folks, that Dak Prescott hits the open market, which means he might not re-sign with the Dallas Cowboys. So we're going to break down some destinations if he chooses to leave, but will he? Type Y for yes or type N for no if you think that Dak Prescott will end up re-signing with the Dallas Cowboys, be it now, or at the end of this year, I should say, next year or in the future. Now, before we break down the top 10, I have narrowed it down to destinations for Dak. Some teams that, it's just not going to happen, right? Chiefs, Eagles, Seahawks, Ravens, Texans, they already just paid their quarterback. The Rams are also in here if you want to include that, but they're not going to be a threat there, so ignore them. Teams that literally just took a quarterback, or that quarterback looks really good, Kyler Murray, Bengals, Dolphins, Chargers, Packers, Cardinals, not going to happen. They don't make sense for Dak Prescott unless one of them turns out to be Josh Rosen really, really quickly. Now, what you could see some changes happen are around teams like the Browns, the Bills, the Jets, the Broncos, the Redskins. You can throw in the Giants there if you want as well. Those teams have young quarterbacks. If they struggle this year and or next year, they might make sense, but for the time being, we'll leave them off the list. Then there are other teams who have invested in their quarterback, but if they needed to, they could get out of those big money deals. The Tennessee Titans, the Falcons, the Lions, with Matthew Stafford actually being a free agent in just a couple of years, and the Minnesota Vikings as well. So they could be fits, but probably not in the end. So before we break down my top 10, I want to know from you guys, what is the best spot for Dak Prescott? Which destination makes the most sense for him? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. We'll begin at number 10, and I almost put the 49ers in the can get out if they need to, but I think San Francisco has shown more willingness to look at other options. They looked at Tom Brady this offseason. I think correctly decided, better off sticking with Jimmy G for at least one more year. But the way his deal is structured, they can get out of it pretty much at any point with very, very limited dead money and cap implications. And this is not a hot take. I am convinced I'm right. If the Niners had Dak Prescott at quarterback this year, they would have won the Super Bowl. And I like Jimmy Garoppolo. He's a good player. He's probably top 15 NFL quarterback. Dak's a top 10 NFL quarterback, though, right now. There's just a little bit better play out of Dak. And, by the way, he's a little bit younger, too. So pick a quarterback. Type D for Dak Prescott, J for Jimmy Garoppolo. I go Dak Prescott. Niners fans might not like me. That's okay. Let's go to number 9 on my list, the Carolina Panthers, who, and I'll make this note for another team as well, they might be in the let's just draft a quarterback camp instead. They signed Teddy Bridgewater to at least be a stopgap option at the quarterback spot. That was kind of the way the contract is structured and paid out to be. His cap hit versus dead money, though, makes it a little bit tricky if you want to move on from him after this year. 2021, you're eating $20 million worth of dead money. That's not ideal. 2022, it's only $5 million. That's much more manageable. So this does partially depend on when Dak hits free agency. If it's after this year, Carolina might not make as much sense. If it's later and after that 2021 season, well, maybe it starts to make just a little bit more sense if you're the Carolina Panthers. Now, Cowboys fans, if you're paying attention, if you think Dak's sticking around, well, now's a good time to go out and buy one of his player face masks. If you're concerned about that and you're concerned about making sure you're staying safe, there's a whole bunch of face masks out there. Zeke and CeeDee Lamb are the other two. They are all available at chatsports.com/CowboysPlayerMask. Oh, by the way, free shipping. use promo code 34SHIP. One other note here, by the way, if you're not a Cowboys fan, you can still go to that link and then click around. There's a whole bunch of these player-themed face masks available. That link will be in the comments and in the description. To number 8, the Jacksonville Jags. Gardner Minshew showed some flashes, but let's be honest, folks, and he's probably not the franchise guy. I'd love to be proven wrong. The issue is, if I'm proven right, I suspect Jacksonville will be drafting in, let's take a Trevor Lawrence or a Justin Fields or even a Trey Lance range, which could eliminate them from the competition. To number 7 we go, the Las Vegas Raiders. My friend Mitchell Renz might not like it, but he knows it's true. If they miss the playoffs again this year, in what is, I think, year 3 of Derek Carr's prove-it year, it might probably time to move on, right? Now, Carr's under contract through the 2020 season, but it's very easy to move on, or 2022 season, excuse me, but it's very easy to move on from him. Now, the past 4 years, fun fact, the numbers actually don't look all that different. They're actually pretty darn similar, although if you look at it a little more recently, you see different trends. You see Dak on the rise, and Derek Carr may be just a little bit more flat. And if you want to factor in the money, especially for the Raiders, you can actually make a pretty decent argument that maybe Derek Carr makes more sense for that organization, or maybe just going super cheap and drafting somebody makes more sense as well. But pure talent-wise, look, maybe Derek Carr's top 15. I think he's top half NFL quarterback. Dak's in top 10. So I'm going to take P, but factoring in the money, you could at least have a strong argument for Derek Carr. Let's go to number 6, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and this is where I think the options get really fascinating for Dak Prescott and for other NFL teams. Because, yes, you've got Ben Roethlisberger, and no one's saying cut Ben right now to replace him with Dak. But again, we're looking ahead into the future, into 2021 or 2022, and wait a minute. Ben's contract is going to expire after the 2021 season. So if Dak plays this year on the tag and next year on the tag, all of a sudden, Pittsburgh has money available because Big Ben is off the books. And on top of that, well, all of a sudden, they don't have to deal with having to turn to Mason Rudolph or Duck Hodges. There's nothing behind them. Makes sense, doesn't it? You know what else makes sense? How about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Now, Tom Brady has 2 years left on his contract, and maybe he sticks around at that point. Maybe he ends up leaving, but he can't actually play forever. I know that, he's the greatest quarterback of all time. At some point, time always wins, and the timing might be perfect for the Bucs and for Dak Prescott as a potential fit. And if we're being honest here, despite what Madden might try to tell you or the talking heads, Dak was better than Tom Brady last year. And by the time we get 2 years from now, Dak's going to be better than Tom Brady because Brady's just going to be too old to play the game. Why draft a quarterback if you have Bruce Arians and an older coach when you can just sign Dak Prescott instead? Now, the NFL and our friends over at Fanatics have just put out some of these new summer sideline hats. You can check out what they have at chatsports.com/sideline hat. They've got them for every single NFL team, the Bucs, the Colts, the Cowboys. They got the New Orleans Saints, all of them. And you can get free shipping. All you have to do is use code 34SHIP at checkout. We will put that link for you guys in the comments and in the description. It's at chatsports.com/sideline hat. Now, speaking of those Patriots, they check in at number 4. Bill Belichick, and you can go back and listen to his other press conferences. He likes the coach speak because that's what coaches do. He loves Dak Prescott. Now, much of this, in terms of the actual possibility, will be determined as to what ends up happening with Cam Newton. He's on a 1-year deal. Maybe he sticks around. Maybe he doesn't. It's very much up in the air at this point. But for the Patriots and for Belichick and for Dak and with the way that they feel about things, look, Cam is good. Not as good as Dak. And especially with the age and with the injuries, if all things are equal, which of course they're not, but for our purposes they are right now, you'd probably go with Dak Prescott. But here's what the hoodie had to say about the Cowboys, for now, starting quarterback. Right now, he's super impressive. This guy can throw the ball. He's very accurate. He's got great poise in the pocket, stands in there. He extends plays and runs if he has to, but he doesn't do much of that unless he really needs to. which is very impressive to me. And Belichick continued here. He's got great poise and discipline in the pocket, gets his eyes downfield. He's a great intermediate to deep ball thrower, just a great quarterback. Sideline throws, inside throws, in cuts, post, over routes, flag routes, you name it. I don't know about you guys, but that seems pretty of effusive praise from Bill Belichick on Dak Prescott, and I think Belichick tends to know what he's doing. So where do you think Dak Prescott will sign? I think my top three are three pretty damn strong contenders. Before we get to that, though, I want you guys to scroll down to the comments and make your best guess. And the Cowboys are still, of course, a very valid answer. To number 3 now, the Chicago Bears. I'm going to let you guys in on a secret that's not really a secret at all. Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky ain't it. They are not the long-term answer, and honestly, they might not be the short-term answer either. Trubisky is going to be a free agent in the near future. He might get cut after this year with the way his contract is structured. Nick Foles he's Nick Foles. He's fine, but he's not great. He's not really going to be the answer to your quarterback problems in the long run. Ask Jacksonville how that turned out, right? So pick a quarterback. I would assume most of you are picking one. Maybe there are still some Nick Foles truthers out there who are going to pick 2. I think we're off the Mitchell Trubisky train, but cast your votes. 1, 2, or 3. Let's get to the big 2 of these potential future Dak Prescott destinations. And I flip-flopped on these late. The Saints come in here at number 2 for me because Drew Brees has 2 years left. And then I think at that point, he retires. And the way the contract is set up, the Saints are finally able to not have a ton of dead money with Drew Brees' retirement. But Tom, they got Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. Yes, they do. Jameis Winston, 1-year deal. He might not even be there next year. Taysom Hill, guys, he is 29 years old. He is not the franchise option at quarterback. He's not. I am sorry. He is a fun football player. He's an awesome athlete. The things he does well, things that make him valuable, they immediately go away when you throw the 50% completion guy at quarterback. So if Dak hits free agency in 2021, 2 years from now, all of a sudden you've got the Drew Brees retired, Jameis Winston might be gone or he's a free agent too, and by that point Taysom Hill is entering actually his age 32 season. Yeah, Dak makes a lot of sense for a quarterback for Sean Payton, who would love to get his hands on him. But at number 1, it is the Indianapolis Colts. And all the teams we mentioned, they can totally make it work from a salary cap perspective, winning a potential bidding war for a top 10 quarterback who hits the open market for the first time in a wildly long time, especially a young quarterback, if this is how things go down. The Colts, guys, even if the salary cap stays flat next year, they are looking at $120 million in cap space. They can win any bidding war for a quarterback of Dak Prescott's caliber. And they have a need for it because Philip Rivers is old. He's got 1 year left on his deal anyway. Jacoby Brissett, clearly not the answer. Jacob Eason, he's just a lottery ticket. So for the Colts, it makes a heck of a lot of sense if they want to go out and invest in the quarterback spot. They've got the money. They've got the need. If the Cowboys let Dak test the open market, the Colts are a very, very, very dangerous threat to sign him away.